UtahWater.net discussing Salt Lake City's water monopoly and water issues. Monopolies are like lumbering elephants. It is impossible to turn them into competitive racehorses. Orem's Water Department has one employee per 833 connections. Salt Lake City's Water Department has one employee per 346 connections. Water monopoly leads to big government waste and inefficiencies, costing the public tens of millions of dollars each year. UtahWater.net is dedicated to small irrigation shareholders impacted by Salt Lake City's water monopoly and unfair state water policies. Irrigation water is the foundation of future municipal water. Protecting farmers from forfeiture protects future water supplies for cities and protects the farmer's family. Does Salt Lake City honestly intend to build 20 hydroelectric dams in the canyons and valleys of Salt Lake County, and MWD Salt Lake and Sandy build a 370-foot dam in Big Cottonwood Canyon and a 410-foot dam in Little Cottonwood Canyon? If not, would the Water Department make the record clear by withdrawing these water applications? Is the Water Department obtaining extra influence with the County and Forest Service to control building and zoning in the canyons by paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars for extra watershed patrolmen, over and above the city's 5 watershed patrolmen which patrol the canyons, which are not the primary source of Salt Lake City's drinking water? Salt Lake City's Water Department spends $1 million on watershed patrol in the canyons. Moose poop is in, dog poop is out. Utah is the second driest state in the United States. In a September 2007 Salt Lake County Demand and Supply Study, engineers project Salt Lake City's future water supply at 169,000 acre-feet by 2010. In 2005, Salt Lake City itself used just 48,000 acre-feet. With Salt Lake City's preferred right to purchase 74,000 acre-feet from Metro Salt Lake and Sandy, this means inhabitants of Salt Lake City could meet their water demand without using any water rights in the canyons. When asked how much profit the Water Department made on $20 million of outside city water sales, the grim response was, "We are a not-for-profit organization. If there is no profit, why is Salt Lake City doing it?" In 2005, Salt Lake City's in-city use was about 47,574 acre-feet. On public records, Salt Lake City's fingerprints can be found on about 2.5 million acre-feet of Utah's water. Why? Unlike land, water evaporates. Hoarded water runs to waste and leaves the state with no benefit. By hoarding water, Salt Lake City has gained a market advantage over cities like Alta, Cottonwood Heights, Murray, Holiday, Mill Creek, and future cities. Because so much water has been hoarded, it is now called surplus water and is sold under a surplus loophole, 10-8-14, without any regulation or oversight. For $200 in filing fees and claiming future public need, Salt Lake City has effectively monopolized 110,000 acre-feet of so-called unappropriated water in Big and Little Cottonwood Creek since 1963. Other potential water users are blocked by these pending applications, which perpetuate water monopoly in these canyons. Is profiteering and appropriating another city's customers a policy state officials should support? The residents in Cottonwood Heights are trapped. Salt Lake City has appropriated more water than it can use. Now it sells this water as surplus to so-called Cottonwood Heights customers. How can Orem sell water for 55 cents per 1,000 gallons with 1.2 employees per 1,000 connections, when Salt Lake City sells water for $1.14 to $3.28 per 1,000 gallons with 2.8 employees per 1,000 connections? Currently, the Water Department proposes $9 million of rate increases over the next 4 years. Instead of chronic rate increases, would up to a $25 million rate decrease using Orem's methods warrant a public discussion on the exorbitant costs of water monopoly on ratepayers? Why are city water rates 107 to 340% higher than Orem's? Hilly terrain is not the reason. Why are county rates 176 to 496% higher than Orem's? To offset the unpaid metro tax is not the main reason. How can the Water Department ask ratepayers to bear high-tiered water rates to conserve water while at the same time selling so-called surplus water outside Salt Lake County? Water politics, lawsuits, and protests, or practical projects, real water, and family-friendly water rates. It's a management decision. Salt Lake City offered the state free land and water to relocate the territorial capital from Fillmore to Salt Lake City. After reaping the economic benefits and increased political access for decades, the Water Department sued the state to break its free water agreement and lost. The Water Department sued 2,400 Utah Lake water users to confirm a water right, a portion of which was later sold. The city even sued its own water district. What happened to her water rights, Salt Lake City? She lost her direct right of transfer because of Salt Lake City-driven litigation. She lost her ability to directly protect her property rights because of Salt Lake City-driven litigation. Why is Salt Lake City buying and asking for more water? When asked how much water it claims to own within 10,000 acre-feet, the grammar response was, no record. How does one operate an $83 million utility without a water inventory? 140,000 Salt Lake County residents have no choice or voice in their water rates. A school in Orem pays 55 cents per 1,000 gallons. A school in Cottonwood Heights pays $3.28 per 1,000 gallons. That's an apple-to-apple comparison. The Salt Lake City Water Department policy seems to be, own it, control it, or sue it. Who hasn't the Water Department sued? Why does the Salt Lake City Water Department use water rights to control building and zoning outside Salt Lake City corporate limits? With 73,760 acre-feet of Deer Creek and CUP water, this means the Provo River system is a primary source of Salt Lake City drinking water. Why isn't the Provo River system a primary focus of the Watershed Protection Program? After years of seeking the Olympics, and even an Olympic scandal, the Water Department said no to Olympic events in the canyons to protect the watershed. Events were held on the Weber and Provo River watershed instead, which is also a drinking water source for Salt Lake City. Linking ski resorts was called a grand interconnect scheme. The Water Department said they could stop. Is watershed used for control? Was it a watershed issue, or just maintaining control of building and zoning outside Salt Lake City corporate limits? Salt Lake City controls water companies with protests and lawsuits. When Salt Lake City brings 6 lawyers against the small Silver Fork Water Company, that seems like a monopoly tactic. Why did Metro's, Salt Lake and Sandy's, Provo River Water Users Association sue Payson City? Salt Lake City has plans to use 5,000 acre-feet of sewer effluent. Payson City obtained an approved application to do the same for 5,000 acre-feet and was sued by Metro's PRWUA. Why? Why did the Salt Lake City Water Department use the East Jordan Irrigation Company to sue Payson City? Payson only tried to use the 38.5 shares it owned. 6 Salt Lake City-related lawyers brought to bear against the use of 38.5 shares of water owned by Payson. How is that not a monopoly tactic? Salt Lake City owns 25% of the East Jordan Irrigation Company and held 2 board seats. When a shareholder owning 5% of the stock requested to physically inspect the records, he was denied access for years. Why don't Salt Lake City's good, transparent record policies apply to irrigation companies which have Salt Lake City employees as board members? Orem protested 7 times, while Salt Lake City interests protested 1,737 times. Ratepayers bear these unneeded costs. Salt Lake City is Utah's top suing water user, effectively utilizing more lawyers than the entire state Division of Water Rights. Who owns Utah's surplus water? The state or Salt Lake City? Permanent surplus water, by law, is owned by the state. How can temporary surplus water be used for perpetual water connections? Should rich cities, like Salt Lake City, receive water welfare? MWD Salt Lake got $500,000 of free state money as a grant. They don't need it. How do they get it? Using just 47,574 acre-feet in 2005, Salt Lake City's fingerprints are on approximately 2.5 million acre-feet of water in 7 counties from the Weber River to the Duchesne River. Why? Should environmental policies be used to control others? Is it watershed protection or protecting your customer base? Who called the state engineer's office and put a stop to the ongoing water adjudication and water audit of Salt Lake City's water rights in the 1980s. Out of 180 shareholders of Big Ditch Irrigation Company, only 4 were Utah County shareholders. Only these 4 Utah County shareholders were sued by Salt Lake City. When a Utah County shareholder gave up his 1 share, Salt Lake City dropped their lawsuit against him. How is this not a monopoly tactic? January 2007, the SLC Water Department claimed to serve a population of 400,000. Just 11 days later, it reported to state officials it served a population of 319,000. The actual figure is about 251,000. Why does the Water Department overstate its figures? Please help by calling the Governor's Hotline at 538-1045. Leave the message, "Please break the Salt Lake City water monopoly today."